Hi there, Robert Cassard, GuitarDiscoveries.com. I'm here with gear and tips to make you a better musician at home, in the studio, and on stage. I make the mistakes so you don't have to. So it's 2022, and I can finally say I own my dream recording studio. It sounds like this.
Thought love was only true in fairy tales, meant for someone else but not for me. Then I saw her face. I'm a believer, not a trace doubt in my mind.
So my studio is right here at home, in my office of all places. And you're probably thinking, what? That room has windows, it's got a sliding door, there's no sound treatment. I mean, how could that be anyone's dream studio? Legit question. I mean, it really does look nothing like the fancy studios that I've paid thousands to rent as an artist and producer. And then even compared to the pro-grade home studios that I've owned during my career, what I have now is much simpler with way less visible equipment. I mean, it's so streamlined. This is it. I used to need a massive desk to hold my mixer, patch bays, racks of outboard gear, and then external racks for more gear, synths, samplers, huge reel-to-reel tape decks. But over the years, digital technology advanced to where its sound essentially matched analog and its convenience easily beat analog. So I slowly sold off all my analog tape decks, mixers, outboard, compressors, EQs, reverbs, effects, synths, and samplers, right? And I don't miss any of them. I feel lighter physically, mentally, emotionally, and that's actually lifted me spiritually so I can express myself more easily and more often. So simplicity is really the main reason why this kind of non-studio is my dream studio. It's so simplified, the whole thing's portable. I can literally take it down and set it up anywhere because there are just 5 main components. So if you want to know what they are, stick around. I know number 5 is going to surprise you. I'm going to share all the details so you can duplicate any part of what I have or all of it. So there are just 5 main components of my dream home studio, but the sound it generates is world class. I mean, wait a minute, world class, really, says who? Well, a Grammy-winning recording and mastering engineer for one. Enrico De Paoli has worked with legends, artists like Ray Charles, Al Jarreau, Aaron Neville, for starters. And my musical partner, Bara, and I met Enrico in Los Angeles in the early 90s. And he was this talented, long-haired Brazilian kid. He was fresh out of recording school. I was recording an EP at the Village Recorder in West LA. Richard Cottrell, who worked with Michael Jackson, was the recording engineer, and Enrico De Paoli was his assistant. So fast forward 30 years, when Enrico heard our duo, Cosmic Spin's EP, it's called Gilding Lilies, which we recorded right here, he literally called it amazing, so organic, and so live. I mean, incredibly flattering, especially for a record made 100% in this untreated room. Okay, back to world class. So the ultimate decision about what sounds world class is really the listening audience, right? And already 2 of the songs that Cosmic Spin recorded right here have reached number 1 on the iTunes Alternative Folk Chart in the UK. And those recordings edged out artists and albums that were recorded at some of the best studios in the world. Because here's the thing. In the past 20 years, a bunch of new technologies have made it possible to record a world-class sounding record, even in a basic room like this, or in your bedroom, or Billie Eilish's bedroom, right? It is helpful if your room has a fair amount of sound absorption. I mean, in my case, it's nothing fancy. It's just carpet, furniture, and some curtains. And that's enough. I also use an isolation filter behind the mic to absorb room reflections and background noise. That's a low-cost accessory. I strongly recommend it. Check the description. Really, my only caveat for this space is that I don't record live drums here. I mean, for what I'm doing, I don't need to, but I still get excellent drum sounds on my records, and a little later in this video, I'll tell you my secret so you can get great drum sounds too. Okay, so while prepping for this video, I got an email from Graham Cochran. He has an excellent YouTube channel all about home recording. It's called Recording Revolution. And the email said, the fact is, the digital audio workstations we have today give us more power and flexibility than an expensive music studio in the 70s or 80s. There's no tape machines to deal with, no outboard gear to repair, no bill for studio time or electric bill from running the studio. Instead, we've got an entire music studio's power on our computers with an audio interface and microphone. And that is the perfect segue to the 5 essentials to get world-class sound at home. Number 1, the best computer you can afford. So in my case, a recent 16-inch Apple Macbook Pro with an M1 Max processor and 64 gigs of RAM. Now mine was not cheap. It was close to $4,000. But when I think of all the equipment it replaces in a traditional studio, it's actually a great deal. I also use mine to edit video and do design work, so it's really an essential business tool, and it's a write-off for me. Now, don't let my Mac price tag scare you away, because there are lots of powerful Macs that cost much less. I mean, they really start around $1,000, and you can make the same ultra high quality recordings with any Mac. I mean, I've been using Apple computers to make music since the late 80s, and they're perfect for me because they're designed for creatives and they just work. I mean, the less time a computer requires to set up and keep running, the more I get to focus on making music. Number 2, like Graham said, you need digital audio workstation software. It's also known as a DAW or DAW. Now, I think of my DAW as my tape recorder, my mixer, and all my signal processing and effects. It's all in one. And again, I have a clear favorite DAW. It runs only on Macs, and I think it's the music recording bargain of the century. It's called Logic Pro. It's just $199 from Apple, and it comes with lifetime free upgrades. I mean, what? It's true. Apple's team routinely adds new features and instruments, loops, effects, pedals. I mean, you name it, they're adding thousands of dollars worth of new gear in each version. And ever since I bought Logic years ago, I've never paid another nickel for all the generosity and amazing new stuff they keep rolling out. It's incredible. Okay, next you've got to get sounds from out here in the world into your computer and your DAW. So 3, you need a great audio interface. I mean, my current interface is an Apollo X4 from Universal Audio. It's one of the best, but a little pricey. This was around $2,000, but you don't need an expensive one like this. There are some incredible sounding interfaces. They go all the way down to about $200. I'm going to put a couple of specific models that I know sound great in the description. Now, I bought a UA interface because I like to run UA plugins, which are these ear-perfect emulations of legendary analog equipment. All the stuff I used to use, right? But you don't need UA plugins. Logic Pro has every plugin you actually need, and they're all built in. So third-party plugins are just luxuries. The plugins developed by UA and other companies like Waves and Apogee, Neural DSP, Oak Sound, they're mind-blowing, but you don't need them to make great recordings. Okay, number 4, headphones and speakers to hear what you record and mix. I assume you already have a decent set of headphones. So I'm going to focus on investing in a good pair of powered near-field monitors, preferably with a 5-inch woofer or bigger so they put out accurate bass. So near-field monitors let you hear what your music will sound like in the real world, and because they're positioned close to you, near field, they downplay the coloring effects of your room acoustics while you're mixing. So I mix in this corner of my office, which is kind of a no-no, and it could be a problem, but with near fields, it's really not. Now, I currently use M Audio BX5s. For years, I mixed everything on Yamaha NS10s. Those are really a studio standard, and you can see them here at the Village Recorder and here in my old home studio. So NS10s became a standard because if your mix sounds good on those, it will probably sound pretty good on most other speakers and audio systems. The thing is, NS10s are pretty harsh to my ears. They really do cause ear fatigue during a longer mixing session. So I shopped around and eventually switched to these inexpensive M-Audio BX5s. They're around $300 a pair. They're definitely less harsh. They're still very clear. And again, if a mix sounds balanced on these, it sounds good almost everywhere else. All right, the fifth and final key item for your world-class studio is one or more great microphones. Now, I used to use quite a few different mics for different voices and instruments. I have large and small diaphragm condensers, I've got dynamic mics, I've got ribbon mics, because each mic has a unique sound. It serves a specific purpose and it will bring out the best in certain sound sources. But buying and maintaining all those mics can be a big investment. And that's why my most recent studio upgrade is really the key to why my simplified studio has become world class. I found one mic that can do almost anything and do it spectacularly. It's called the Townsend Lab Sphere L22. Here it is. I get it in here, get in the shot. There we go. All right, so this is a modeling mic. You actually record through it and then apply a software plugin that accurately emulates whatever mic modeling configuration you want. So how is it possible that one mic can accurately sound like all kinds of different mics? And the ingenious answer is that the L22 has a front and a rear capsule, and they're both always on. So every track you record is actually two tracks, what the front picks up and what the rear picks up. And then you run those resulting two audio tracks through the modeling plugin, and it emulates the exact response characteristics and the polar patterns of legendary, usually very expensive microphones. And it combines the front and rear signals into a single modeled mono track. Now, even more amazing, you can record a track and you can apply the mic model afterward. So think about that for a minute. Let's say I record an acoustic guitar, and while recording, I'm modeling a large diaphragm condenser, like an AKG 414. But then while I'm mixing, I think, geez, I wish I'd recorded that guitar with a small diaphragm condenser instead, because I want more mid-range punch and a little less bass. No problem. I just switch the mic model in the plugin, and then magically the track sounds exactly as if I used the small mic at the time of recording. So there it is, the Sphere L22. I mean, it looks like one mic, right? It's actually a whole bunch of top-level vintage and new mics. So the retail price on this is about $1,500 new. I bought mine used for $1,000. So if you start tallying the value of all the mics that are included in the free Townsend L22 plugin, suddenly you own a mic locker worth tens of thousands or more, but with the minimal cost and optimal convenience of one mic. I mean, that is amazing for a home studio. For me, I have easy access to mic models I wouldn't even dream of buying, right? And now I don't even have to think about mic choice while I'm recording, only mic placement, because I know I can choose the specific mic model after I record. So it's great for fast workflow. Oh, one more insane feature about this. When you turn the L22 90 degrees, the mic actually records in true stereo. The front and back become left and right. So in that case, you apply the 180 degree stereo version of the plugin to control all the parameters. It's truly amazing. I mean, you can tell I'm a super fan of this mic. First time I recorded a voiceover through it, the mic model defaulted to an old Telefunken U47, and I just thought, wow, that sounds amazing. And I guess it should, because a vintage original U47 would cost $25,000 or $30,000 for one mic, and you'd probably need a technician on call just to keep it running. All right, those are the 5 essentials to get world-class sound at home, and they are the heart of my dream studio. So my total souped up price tag with the high-end Mac and the UA interface is about $7,500. It's a bargain. Frugal version with a lower priced Mac and audio interface would cost around $3,000. But this kind of setup gives you the capabilities of studio gear that would have cost between $250,000 and $500,000 back in the 80s. Now there's some little extras you want, like a mic stand, you know, a pop screen, you're going to want one of these, and an isolation filter to decrease room ambience from behind the mic. And then obviously instruments are separate. You know, you might want or need a music keyboard. I use this Nectar Impact GX49. It's about $110. And this lets me trigger all the incredible sounding keyboard, synths, and orchestra samples in Logic. And then beyond a keyboard, it would be, you know, BYOI, bring your own instruments, you know, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, bass, etc. Oh, almost forgot, drums. As I said, I don't record acoustic drums in this space. And that's because I use Logic Pro's built-in drum sets and drummer feature to build all my drum tracks. Now, in my opinion, the drummer feature alone is worth way more than the $200 price tag of Logic because it lets me build these hyper-realistic drum tracks very fast. I'm going to play you some examples. So here's a mellow track with my choice of drummer playing with brushes. And here's something mid-tempo played with sticks. And a little something more aggressive. I'm sure it's obvious, but this streamlined, simple home studio is pretty much heaven to me. I'd love to know what you think of it. How does this compare to your current home studio setup? You know, do you have any great gear or tips to share? Please leave a comment and let everyone know what you're up to. And if you haven't already, take a moment to like and subscribe. And visit guitardiscoveries.com. I have a bunch of home recording videos over there. How to record and layer guitars, how to build massive vocal harmonies, lots of other topics. Finally, if you want to know more about Logic Pro, watch my interview with the Logic Pro guru. His name is Chris Vandeviver from Why Logic Pro Rules. It's right here. You'll love it. All right, until next time, happy playing, recording, and discovering.